Right, you're tuning in because you want to get your head around something interesting and do it pretty efficiently. Today, we're diving deep into something that brings back a lot of memories for some and maybe curiosity for others. Classic video games.
Yeah, we're talking about why those games, from the late 70s, maybe up to the early 2000s, why they still grab people today.
Exactly.
We've been looking at some really interesting stuff, specifically from old versus new, why retro games still rule.
Right.
And it's a great way to unpack this appeal. It's not just about like pure nostalgia for those who were there.
Hmm.
It's also about why maybe younger players, new players, find something special in them too.
Okay.
So the mission really is to figure out what gives these games their staying power beyond just, oh, I remember that.
Okay, good stuff.
Yeah.
So let's define our terms first.
Right.
What exactly is a retro game for this chat? The source gives us a time frame, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. It sets the window pretty clearly from the late 1970s, think Space Invaders era, up through the early 2000s. So before things got hyper-realistic, maybe.
Right. So that covers a lot of ground. We're
Yeah.
talking consoles like the NES,
The Nintendo Entertainment System, yep.
Sega Genesis, PlayStation
The
1,
original PlayStation, yeah. Crucial.
and oh man, the Game Boy, the gray brick.
Can't forget the Game Boy. Or the arcades, where a lot of this started.
True. And the games themselves.
Yeah.
Like the absolute icons.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Super Mario Bros., obviously.
Pac-Man,
Pac-Man, absolutely. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Tetris, still addictive.
Tetris, definitely. And, like, Street Fighter 2 in the arcades and consoles, kicking off competitive play.
Wow. It's kind of wild when you list them like that. These, seemingly simple games.
Uh-huh.
They really were the foundation for, well, everything that came after.
That's a great way to put it. The DNA, like you said, they didn't just entertain, they invented genres, they established mechanics we still see.
Yeah, basic design ideas that developers still reference.
Exactly, but it's not just history, is it? People are still playing these games. So why? What's the hook beyond just remembering them?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And the source digs into this. One big thing seems to be just simplicity.
Tell me more.
Like, you didn't need a 50-page tutorial for Pac-Man. Eat dots, avoid ghosts. Done.
Yeah, that easy to learn, hard to master thing, it really applies here.
Yeah.
Clear goals, controls that made sense almost instantly.
You pick up the controller, you're playing in seconds, no massive install times, no complex menus usually.
Right, that immediacy is, I think, a huge part of it, very direct.
And then, okay, we have to talk about nostalgia. It's unavoidable.
Of course. For a lot of us, firing up an old NES game or something, it's like instant time travel.
It really is. It connects you back to being a kid, maybe playing with friends those late nights.
Uh-huh. Sharing cheat codes on the playground?
Yes. Or finally beating that super hard level. That feeling.
That's a huge part of it. That emotional tag. And you mentioned beating hard levels.
Mm-hmm.
That ties into another point, doesn't it? The challenge.
Oh, definitely. These games could be brutal.
They really could. No autosaves most of the time. Limited lives.
You mess up, you're often right back at the start. Or maybe the start of the level if you were lucky.
Yeah, it demanded focus, precision. Frustrating sometimes, sure, but...
But when you finally did it, the payoff was massive. You felt like you'd really achieved something.
Exactly. The stakes felt, I don't know, higher somehow. You had to really earn that progress.
Totally. And then there's the whole look and sound of them, the pixel art, the 8-bit or 16-bit music.
Right. Some people might just see that as, old tech limitations.
But it's more than that now, isn't it? The source kind of frames it as its own art style.
It really does. It calls it almost magical, which I quite like. There's a definite craft to good pixel art.
Yeah, there's a charm to it. And those chiptunes,
Hmm?
they get stuck in your head for days.
Oh, absolutely. They had to be catchy and memorable with limited technology. It forced creativity. It's a distinct aesthetic.
It really is. It's not just nostalgia goggles. It's a genuine style people appreciate.
And, maybe a more practical point the source brings up, something very relevant today. No microtransactions.
Ah, yes. The elephant in the modern gaming room.
You bought the cartridge, you bought the disc, that was it. You got the whole game.
No season passes, no loot boxes, no asking for more money every 5 minutes.
Exactly, just the game experience. It was a complete package. A lot of people miss that straightforwardness, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a different feel compared to some modern business models.
For sure. But, okay, let's be fair. Modern games have done incredible things too. We can't just ignore that. The source acknowledges this as well.
No, absolutely. We need that balance. I mean, the graphics today can be mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Photorealistic stuff.
Truly cinematic. And the scale, massive open worlds you can get lost in for Hundreds of hours.
And online multiplayer esports. That's a whole universe that barely existed back then.
Right. Plus the storytelling.
Yeah.
Modern games like The Last of Us or the newer God of War.
Yeah, mentioned in the source.
They deliver narratives with incredible depth, character development, emotional weight. Things that were much harder to do with older tech.
And VR. And AI characters that feel much more alive.
The progress is undeniable. Huge leaps forward in technology and design possibilities.
But is it possible that sometimes, with all that complexity and realism, something gets lost? The source kind of hints at this.
Yeah, maybe that soul, as it puts it sometimes, that focused core gameplay loop, that simplicity we talked about.
Right. It's not necessarily better or worse, just different priorities maybe. Modern games can offer these vast movie-like experiences.
Well, retro games often offered this very tight mechanics-focused challenge.
And what's really cool now is seeing how those two worlds are kind of blending.
Definitely. It's not like retro is just stuck in the past.
Yeah.
Modern developers are constantly looking back.
Yeah, taking inspiration from those aesthetics and mechanics.
We see tons of new games that look retro but play with modern twists. The source lists some great ones.
Like Shovel Knight. That feels very NES, but
yeah,
refined.
exactly. Or Celeste, which has that pixel look but tells this really touching modern story. Undertale.
Hollow Knight. Amazing game.
Yeah. These aren't just clones. They're taking retro ideas and infusing them with modern design sensibilities, new kinds of depth, often emotional depth.
So it shows those core ideas are still powerful.
Absolutely. And it's easier than ever to actually play the classics now, too, right? With services like Nintendo Switch Online or other collections.
True, they're not just museum pieces. New generations are actually discovering Pac-Man or Mario for the first time.
Which proves they have something timeless, I think. It's clearly not just nostalgia driving everything.
So, thinking about all this,
Yeah.
it kind of makes you reflect on your own tastes, doesn't it? As a listener, where do you fall?
Yeah, what pulls you in more? Is it that tough as nails challenge and simplicity of the old school?
Or do you prefer getting lost in those huge, cinematic, modern worlds?
Or is it, maybe like for a lot of us, a mix? You appreciate both for what they offer.
Depends on the mood, maybe.
Could be. We genuinely love to know what you think. What resonates with you from this?
Yeah, seriously. Drop us a message, tell us your thoughts, or, hey, just list your top 3 retro games. We're always curious.
We might even share some responses down the line. It'd be great to hear your take.
Definitely.
And maybe, just as a final thought to leave you with, think about this. Those core design ideas from retro games that focus on pure mechanics, clear goals, the reward loop. How much of that is still absolutely vital for making any game fun today, no matter how fancy it looks?
That's a great point. What are the fundamental lessons from that era that still hold true for developers and for us as players, even now? Something to chew on.